Kevin Durant has been the talk of the town for the Toronto Raptors and for obviously Toronto Raptors fans over, the past little while since Kevin Durant requested this trade, which I think would have been exactly 1 week ago if I'm not mistaken. What's up, everybody? It's JJ Buckets, and you would be mistaken if you thought I wasn't going to get in on this conversation. We're going to talk about Kevin Durant. We're going to talk about, the idea of Kevin Durant potentially being traded to Toronto and whether or not, in the end, it is worth it for this team. Now, before I fully get into things, usual drill, folks. Like the video if you like what you watch today. It takes like a second. It makes a huge difference for me in the algorithm, so thank you. And if you're new here, and again, you like what you watch today, subscribe to the channel as well. The 1K march is something I talk about every single video, and I will keep talking about it in every single video until we get there, so help me get to 1K. Without further ado, let's talk easy money sniper, KD. So where does the appeal of Kevin Durant come from? I think it's a pretty easy one, and, with KD, he's still, if not a top 5 player, just around that mark. So his basketball talents are definitely not to be questioned. And the thing that KD does so well is, quite frankly, one of the things that this team is missing, right? It's come playoff time, he is one of the best, hey, just go get me a bucket players in the NBA. Obviously, shot creation has never been something that Kevin Durant has struggled with. He is easily one of the best scorers of all time. And in terms of that, and adding that to the Toronto Raptors with the current construction, I understand the appeal of why Kevin Durant look in a Raptors uniform would look pretty damn good and would honestly be pretty damn terrifying for the rest of the league. Now, the things with Kevin Durant that do need to be talked about, though, as far as concerns, are obviously, the first thing for me is the injuries. He has been a little injury riddled the past few seasons. So, looking at this 34-year-old with injury concerns and potentially trading a farm of assets for him, it comes with its scares. I'd be lying if it didn't. There's a chance there that this is going to be a persistent problem, and obviously the Raptors have had previously good experiences with guys like obviously Kawhi Leonard, which is going to be the direct comparison for the situation anyways, and managing the load of those players to make sure they stay healthy and they stay ready. So there is a little bit of alleviation there. Another major talking point that I think you have to have with Kevin Durant is his contract. Now, his contract is both a good and a bad thing. So he's locked up for 4 years, which is nice. But then you remember at the end of that 4 years, he's going to be 38 years old. So it's an interesting one because, how good do you expect Kevin Durant to stay throughout the latter years of his career? I think is a good discussion. And with KD, I think it's an interesting one because his game, I wouldn't say, is necessarily reliant on athleticism. Obviously, with his ridiculous length and everything, I don't think that shot creation ability is disappearing anytime soon. But obviously, stuff like his defensive abilities have already declined a fair bit, I would say, and obviously you can mask that on a team that in theory would be as good defensively as the Toronto Raptors. But basically, how good do you expect him to stay? Obviously, sports medicine and advancements in that have been great towards guys like, say, LeBron James, Chris Paul, playing at a very high level in late into their careers, and I don't see any reason why Kevin Durant can't be one of those players as well. But I do think the age and the contract is something to at least bear in mind with the situation. And does Kevin Durant stay for the duration of that contract? I think is the other thing to talk about there. I mean, with all love and respect to Kevin Durant, he hasn't exactly been a player that embraces the grind, you could say. If things get bad, Kevin Durant's not afraid to jump ship type of thing. Now, you can believe what you will because the rumors are flying left and right here, so take everything with a grain of salt, but There was at least one rumor that came out that KD would commit to the entirety of the 4 years if he was traded to Toronto. Again, there's so many rumors flying out here, so take it with a pinch of salt, but there has been that out there at least. So you would think that KD would be here. Now, when it comes to Kevin Durant and adding him to this team, does it make them the championship contender that everybody's envisioning? Potentially. And this is going to bring up, I guess, the main part of this conversation for me is whether or not Kevin Durant is worth it for this team and whether or not this ad really propels the Raptors as it should. And I will say it is, but it has to come at the right price. I think that's obviously the major talking point with this whole discussion, right? Is the Nets are trying to get a haul for Kevin Durant. There's been many reports that the Nets are looking for a historic level of haul for Kevin Durant. And again, there's rumors left and right. It's hard to know which ones are true and which ones are not, but they've declined packages for stuff like Aiden, Mikal Bridges, a buttload of picks, so on and so forth. So if they're declining that, what are they realistically looking to get for Kevin Durant? Because one way or another, to an extent, you're mortgaging your future if you're the Toronto Raptors and you're trying to buy in on Kevin Durant. And at that point, you're giving yourself, I'd say, a 2 to 3, maybe 4 year title window, depending again on how Kevin Durant's game holds up in his later years here. And I think that's only, again, if you're retaining the right pieces around him. If you're talking to me about a package for Kevin Durant, and you're talking about any package that gets rid of a major championship piece, you're stunting, this window that you're going to have of Kevin Durant, right? So I think it's needless to say Scottie Barnes is not getting moved. There's obviously, again, been a lot of reports that potentially the Nets are asking for Barnes, and then Barnes is not on the table as far as Masai goes. And naturally, the part of this discussion here as well is I think Masai knows what he has and he won't be ripped off for a price where he doesn't still see his team as a championship team afterwards. So I wouldn't expect Masai to give up any quote-unquote ridiculous level of package or all-time historic package. When it comes to at least the player talent, draft picks is a different conversation, and one that I'm sure I'll touch upon at least at some point in this video. But I don't expect Scottie Barnes to be going anywhere. I would think he's virtually untouchable. And to an extent, I think Pascal has to be right there with it, right there with the untouchables if you're looking to go for a championship team here, because Pascal as a running mate, as a number 2, that's exactly what you want, right? Like, if you can get out of this scenario retaining Kevin Durant, Pascal Siakam, Scottie Barnes, and some good pieces around them, I think you pull that trigger. I do think you make that trade. But if the Nets aren't budging that they want somebody of Barnes or of Pascal, I don't think that trade is worth it, right? Like, if the package looks something like OG, Gary Trent Jr. converting Boucher or Young, sign and trade into the deal here, and then a buttload of picks, because it has to be a buttload of picks at that point, right? Like, you're probably looking at like 3 picks, maybe some pick swaps, like first rounders, obviously, maybe 4. Again, like, it's tough to gauge the value here, but there's a pick haul involved in any case that doesn't feature, one of these top guys. And again, you're not gonna feature your top guys like Scottie, because you're not giving up Scottie in the trade because you want him there for that championship, because he's gonna be a huge part in that championship. So to go back to all of it, right, to sum it up really nicely, relatively nicely, I think, trading for Kevin Durant, I do think, is the right move, but only if it comes at the right price. Any price that's going to gut that core and, be I guess a thorn in the side isn't the right expression, but any move for Kevin Durant is a move where you're trying to go for a championship, and if you're gutting your team in the process to get Kevin Durant, you're, taking it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. My God, it is too early right now. You folks know what I mean though. If you want to get Kevin Durant, you don't get Kevin Durant in a trade where you're going to give up a incredible amount of pieces that would help towards that championship that you're trying to attain in that Kevin Durant trade. There. That's how I'm putting it. That's how I've said it. That does it for me today. I think the KD conversation is obviously one that's going to circulate pretty much up until he's traded. And I know some Raptors fans are already sick of it, but I think it is one that is needed to be had. So comment below. Let me know, what do you think about Kevin Durant? Do you pull that trade? What does your package look like? There's so much to talk about with it, right? So drop it all in the comments section and let's discuss. To reiterate the points from the beginning of the video, if you liked what you saw today, hit the like button. It takes no time, makes a great difference for me, so thank you. And if you're new here and you're still watching, you clearly like what you watched today, so subscribe to the channel, help me get to that 1K mark. It'd be a great accomplishment, and I look forward to hitting that one day, so help be a part of that. It's been JJ Buckets, it's been real, and please don't kill each other in the comment section. I will see everybody on the next video.